Hello and welcome to You Talking to Me, the Euranet Plus weekly debate. Today we are going to talk about the reform of the common European asylum system announced recently by the Commission, and specifically about one of the key points of this reform, the so-called Dublin regulation. In order to talk about this topic, I'm here with two guests. I'm here with Monica Olmeyer. She's member of the European Parliament for the European People's Party. Thank you, welcome. And Ernesto Urtasun, he's member of the European Parliament for the Greens. Thanks and welcome.
Thank you.
Let me remind first, quickly, what is the Dublin regulation. According to this regulation, asylum seekers should ask for asylum in the first country they arrive in, which means a lot of pressure for the border countries like Italy and Greece. The Commission recognized that this system is not working and first considered the option of moving to a new system. Finally, the proposal presented is just a reform of the current system, so the current system will remain. This reform consists basically in introducing a new fairness mechanism, which is an automatic allocation mechanism that would come into force automatically in situations of emergency when member states are dealing with too much pressure. So my question for you, the first question would be, this mechanism reminds me to the allocation mechanism that was approved by the Commission last September and that is not working. So why this time should work? What is the big difference?
So first, this is really a huge problem that member states decided together with the European Parliament a relocation mechanism of 160,000 for 160,000 refugees, and a lot of member states refused the implementation of this kind of relocation. Though this is a real problem, because if member states are together deciding with the Parliament, taking a decision, normally I expect that member states are respecting the decision that we both together, both institutions, together with institutions, the third institution have taken. So that's the first point. Second point, I think that the Dublin regulation has since a long time this problem that if there is a crisis mechanism appearing, member states are very reluctant to deal with this. It's not the duty of Greece or of Italy alone to deal with a mass influx. We normally have a mass influx directive. This mass influx directive never was mentioned, never was taken into consideration, and at the same time already in the last negotiations to Dublin regulation, member states refused to have something like a corrective mechanism or a crisis mechanism as we have called it. So if there is a mass influx, then member states need to help each other.
But why this time should work? I mean, is the Commission trying to save something which is not working?
Well, I think that everybody believes that the proposal of the Commission for this kind of mechanism, taking into account the current state of the debate at EU level, has very, very low possibilities to fly in the Council. That is absolutely true. But the main problem probably is that in case of a mass influx, as it was mentioned before, I think we need common European mechanisms to be triggered automatically. I mean, if we leave that decision to individual member states, it would never work. But that's what we need. But the problem is that the state of the opinion in the Council right now is totally very, very far away from that. And in my opinion, and I totally agree with you, I believe that if the emergency mechanism did not work, there's very few chances that this proposal for reform of the Dublin system proposed by the Commission would work as well. So, in my opinion, we should go for something much more ambitious and try to have a real debate about the whole EU policy on asylum that we have right now. But unfortunately, we are very, very far away from there.
Some voices have criticized that this emergency this emergency mechanism is not enough because a member state may be under too much pressure without reaching this level considered by the Commission as an emergency situation. So do you think is enough with this mechanism?
I think the Commission proposal is a realistic one, because normally member states only are accepting to help another member state if this member state has proved that this member state is ready to take responsibility in his own member state. So this is a normal mechanism. So first, the member state has to take its own responsibility. So to show that they are accommodating, that they are giving support to refugees, that they are doing asylum procedures in a quick and responsible way, that there are fair procedures for those persons arriving. So first to detect if a person is a real refugee or if a person, for example, is an economic migrant. But in this situation, then if there's a certain figure appears of migrants, then there is the need of a help of the other member states. So the need to help perhaps with experts or to help to take to do a relocation mechanism. So to take refugees and to do the procedures in another member state. I think it is necessary to do so because if not, I think the mistrust in between member states will increase, and more in the population is the intention, is the opinion that European Union is not able to work, but it is the member state. The member states are not able to work at the moment because they are not ready to really to deal with this issue in a way. Okay. That would be for the responsibility of the European Union.
Okay. I would like to include in this debate some of the questions of Euranet members. So let's listen first. The first question coming from Poland, from our colleague working for Polski Radio.
Poland, together with the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Hungary, is against refugee quotas. Poland is also against the proposal that would allow EU countries to buy themselves out from the obligation to accept refugees. Is there any other way to convince Poland and other countries to cooperate on this issue?
Our colleague is referring here to this mandatory solidarity contribution that countries could pay, those countries that they don't want to assume their part of responsibility of asylum seekers. We are talking here about big numbers. It's a lot of money, 2,000, 50,000 euros for each refugee they don't want to take care of. Is it realistic, this proposal?
I think it's less realistic to think that the member states will allow an EU system where they will have financial penalties, rather than to propose to them actually that we will have a European fully fledged model for asylum seekers. This has more possibilities than actually proposing that we will have a penalty system, in my opinion. The other thing is also very difficult. The political circumstances at the moment for having a compulsory relocation mechanism, automatic relocation mechanism at EU level that is compulsory is very difficult. But if you present the things like there will be a fine, I think it's even worse. And I also believe that when from the side of the Commission you present the things that there would be penalties from the EU, this in some public opinions it's very, very badly received. So I don't think that the thing should be presented like that, frankly. And again, I think this has zero chances to fly in the Council.
As our colleague Joachim was asking, how can we convince countries like Poland that they already said that they won't accept the proposal of the Commission?
So first, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, they all have signed the Geneva Convention. So they all have signed the international law. So this means they have this obligation to deal with refugees and not only to refuse it. So I think everybody has a certain responsibility for refugees. And in this case, I think that they should be ready to be part of a mechanism. But this mechanism you have to see in a whole range of measures. There is to have more safer external borders. They have to increase the first procedures already in the member states where they arrive. But just to say we don't accept anybody is not a solution. And we have put a proposal in the budget committee that all member states receiving cohesion funds and explaining us that it would be too costly for them, that we would be ready to accept that they can make use of cohesion funds money for accommodation of refugees or helping refugees in their member states. So we would be ready to discuss, but just to say, no, we are not accepting anything, is not the way we can deal in the European Union, because compromise is something that is necessary in between 28 member states.
Let's go for the last question. Let's listen this time the question coming from Greece, from our colleague working for Sky Radio. Let's listen the question, please.
Erdogan's latest moves show us that the powerful Turkish leader wishes to part ways with the European Union. The resignation of Prime Minister Davutoglu, regarded as the main architect of the EUTurkey deal, as well as a refusal to change terror laws as a precondition for visa liberalization, seem for many as obstacles that could jeopardize the already fragile agreement. Could we possibly go back to the very start in the management of the refugee crisis?
So, do the last events concerning Turkey change something of the agreement the Turkey and the EU had?
I think the proposal of the Commission is not very easy to deal with at the moment because there are certain criteria not met by Turkey. So this means Turkey has promised to fulfill the criteria, all the 72 criteria. Turkey has asked for acceleration of the procedure. We could agree with this, but then Turkey has to fulfill the promises. And at the moment we had from the side of Mr. Erdogan that he is not willing to accept, for example, the criteria of making much more clearer the article of terrorism. Sometimes we have the impression that this article is partly misused against political enemies in Turkey. So this is not the intention of the European Union, and visa liberalization can only be given if 72 criteria are really met. And this was the reason why the Libe Committee and the coordinators have decided and accepted the decision of the President of the Parliament that the Commission has first to clarify if Turkey is really willing to fulfill 72 criteria.
I think that the EU-Turkish agreement is really a shame. Actually, yesterday we had a legal opinion by the services of the European Parliament saying that this agreement is not even a piece of a legal text, so that they are really concerned on how this can be implemented.
No, it was not. Oh, that's not
yes,
the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You were asking. The question was if this is an illegal agreement, and the Parliament legal service told us that the basis is legal.
That there is no legal text. No. The answer was that there is no legal text. Yes.
That there is that they have appointed several things that must go through a normal legal procedure in the Parliament.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you are implementing an agreement which has no legal basis at the moment. That's what the services said yesterday.
Yes, that was not true.
Yeah, that's actually the point.
I was in this committee meeting.
Yeah, well, it's in all the press this morning, so it doesn't matter.
In the committee meeting.
In any case, I think that for sure Turkey is not implementing not even what it has been asked. All the civil liberties and everything is going backwards, and it's very sad that the visa liberalization with Turkey happened in that context, frankly.
I think that it's important. Turkey is our neighbor and we have to work together. So even if this state is not perfectly in line with everything what we are doing, but if we only are talking with people who are perfectly in line with everything that we are doing, so we have to deal and to try to work with them to improve the situation in Turkey. That's one. We do this because, for example, all the European money that is given to Turkey must be used, for example, for the possibility of working for refugees, of schooling for children for refugees. Turkey has taken 3 million refugees. This state is really not in a very easy situation, but we cannot accept on the other side that some issues about freedom of opinion, freedom of political of doing the normal political work, or to have a political opposition. There in this area we really have huge concerns because a lot of journalists have been arrested and put into prison, and these are points where we are really very, very critical.
It's what we are accepting with the deal. But
yes.
Anyway.
No, we don't accept it.
We are accepting.
No,
that.
if you're working together with somebody, we work together with China, but we don't accept their kind of justice and kind of law. But even so, we are working together. We are against death penalty, but we are working together with the United States. So you cannot say that with an agreement or with an intention to cooperate in the field of refugees, we are accepting everything that is done.
We are not criticizing anymore what happened with the Kurds. We are accepting the attacks on the freedom of press.
No, we are not.
The German government is absolutely silent about all that.
No,
and that is because
the German government is not silent.
Of course,
and the Spanish government is not silent. Nobody is silent.
The Spanish government is more silent than ever.
No, they are not silent. But we are not accepting this. But we know we cannot change everything only if we want to have something where we work together, we're working together in the economic field, we're working together in the migration field. But there are points where we have really different opinions, and we are telling about these problems.
I'm skeptical.
This was the reason why all the groups have refused at the moment to deal with visa liberalization, because we said the criteria must be fulfilled. That's not a bad deal.
It seems clear that the deal with Turkey is one of the most polemic points. Anyway, the proposal presented by the Commission still needs to be approved by the Parliament and by the Member States. So there's a lot to be said on this topic.
That's true.
Thanks both for coming.
Thank
we are
you.
running out of time. And thanks for watching. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.